Alright, back at it again with this house flipper. This because it's a Thursday, right? Because of the dog, right? I love doggy. Yeah, I forgot to put Thursday on the thing. There we go. Speaking of that, I also got some podcasts to listen to. Got another Triple KO podcast, so I would like to listen to that. I don't see it in my subs. Ugh, YouTube always makes it hard to find videos that you want to watch. Alright, fighting game tournaments. I don't know how that's gonna go. It's so loud at the beginning. Alright, let's see what the phone stored it though.
What's up, everybody? Before we get started, we just want to say today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, our go-to men's below-the-waist grooming products. Manscaped new products.
Konnichiwa, Hawk. Well, hello to you, Sleepy. Alright,
Alright,
so we're gonna continue doing some more. Ooh, wait, we got some more dogs.
Make sure, you know,
Oh, a Labrador? Oh, that's kind of close, but oh, but I want a retriever though. I want a golden retriever.
Exfoliator and the crop gel.
How about Birbs? We got a parrot. Another parrot. They're both just one is male, one is female.
It's like a lion's mane.
Alright, well, I'm going to continue on the pets jobs, so over here. Oh, let me pause the podcast right now. Get the husky dog. Well, it was. I mean, I could, but I have my Rottweiler. Because the reason why I chose a Rottweiler because my grandparents have a Rottweiler. Oh, they have a bunch.
Finally, a whole house for me and my squad. Or should I say, band members. This is how I imagine life from now on. Making music and jamming. Because that's how bands work, right? We'll need a music room and a dope spot to chill. Oh, and we're bringing our pets with us. They are full-fledged members of the group. Like, seriously, my cat plays the piano. His parts will make our demo epic. Anyways, I guess you know the drill. See ya.
Let's rock meow. Why is there a rat on this? I'm pretty sure that was a cat. Alright, first, I guess we don't need to mow the lawn because there's no thingy there. Look at this boy. Pet the dog. Alright, let's see what we got. Start at the first floor, ground floor. Alright, nothing in this room, but this room is dirty. Let's clean that up. Oh, we need to sell everything here, alright. Even the window? And the door. What's this one? Alright, let's clean everything here. Clean the window. Oh, this window. Thought it was a door. Alright. And we get the podcast back.
Right to the roots with a discount code just for you. Remember, 20% off.
You're looking out again, Sleepy? Go ahead. we can just chill and listen to the podcast.
It's a 3-by-step process, right? The first one you gotta use is the crop exfoliator. That's gonna help make sure it's
right now an ad is going on.
Skin around, you know what I mean? And then we gotta place the crop
Dark
gel,
brick.
right? Because when it comes down to it, you gotta make sure you put some things to protect yourself with. And then we call it the crop shaver, and the slogan of the line, "It's time to shave," was designed for shaving the groin area with confidence. That's the most important part, right? We gotta make sure our self-esteem is good, and Manscaped got us with that. So other than that, make sure you get 20% off and free shipping with the code TKO at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping with the code TKO at manscaped.com. Let's move it out, fellas. With Manscaped, your balls will thank you. So what's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of Triple Stink KAO. I mean, who knows? But we are here with myself, Maximilian, and Matt McMuscles. And how are you guys doing?
I'm doing all right, but Max a little bit under the weather, unfortunately.
Yeah, I must have pissed off some sort of deity, because for the past month or so, me and my family have been going through like absolute hell. Everybody, I've been sick as hell. I'm pretty good enough today to talk a bit, so at least I wanted to keep the podcast going as smoothly as it possibly could. But my apologies if I'm not talking a ton or if I sound a little weird.
Oh, I want to.
Yeah, I'm in
Office room
extra
in here, I
dick over
guess.
the past few weeks.
It's those deities in Asura's wrath. They're
must be
fighting you back.
Yeah, so
It's always that one
god.
time. It's always that one time when you get sick or something bad happens, it just keeps coming in tangents, right? It's like a combo, right? Non-stop.
Yeah, so everything is going to be a
Yeah, that does happen to me a lot.
Getting ravaged.
Getting
Yeah,
sick
it's getting
constantly.
rushed down by like all these diseases.
Yeah, but so unfortunately you are sick, and well, at least when you are sick, what you can do is watch tournaments, and this is what we're gonna be talking about for today's topic. Are just, I guess, tournaments in general, tournaments in history.
RGB.
Should people go to tournaments? What to expect at tournaments, and just kind of just the tournament culture, regardless, right? I would say, what are some of the tournaments that you guys have been to before?
Well, my section is very short, so before Max gets into his, but I like once or twice I went to like a local thing here in Montreal, like very small scale, and not much success.
Alright, I need some lights here first.
Just in general, one thing about me is
Cat.
that I know where my skill ceiling is, and it's always been at the same place. So, actually participating, not so much, but I did. Eventually, I was just like, I have to go to Evo at least once or twice, like before I die, right? So, because you just read about it and hear about it all the time online and stuff, but like Evo is like so, unique on this scale and in Vegas and stuff. So I eventually did. A couple of years ago, I'm trying to forget when, like 2016, 2017, maybe 2018 as well. Experienced a little.
Yeah, I do want to go to
some
Evo myself, but
video
yeah,
games or
travel.
something.
I don't want to do that.
It was actually really hype. It was actually like one of the most fun towns I've been to. But and I've talked about it in an episode before, but just going to the Evo finals in the big arena and seeing like the shit on the main screen and experiencing that that's kind of like it in a nutshell for me. But it is something.
Was it at Mandalay Bay for you, Matt?
Yeah, I think the last year I went, it was in Mandalay Bay.
Okay, just making sure, because it's like Evo has been spread around so many different parts of like Vegas over the years, so I'm like, that's how I think of it. I'm like, wait, this year we were down at like the LVH and this other year
so like
someplace
the
else.
Mandalay Bay arc,
Yes.
basically type stuff.
We've been on a good streak for Mandalay Bay, so I think they just have a good deal over there. But I would say, I mean, Evo is definitely like a big tournament for anyone to want to go to. Even before it got so big to Vegas, it even started like at just a random small arcade. Like the first one I went to was before it was even called Evo. It was called B5, like Battle to the Bay series, and that was in Folsom, California. Folsom. It was at some kind of like mom and pop's arcade.
I thought you were gonna say in the bathroom.
I mean, they had tournaments in the bathroom before. Just saying, melty blood. What can I say? But yeah, I would say it's crazy how how much things have evolved from like going from this like really small tournament, or maybe from somebody's like garage.
Well, a
into,
photo
like,
of a
big
guitar.
tournaments in, like,
Alright.
Las Vegas.
I don't even know where to put this.
But in general, I would say I've been playing for over like 21 years, and the first tournament I've been to was actually a major. I went to my arcade at like 10 a.m. because I wanted to play some video games at 10 a.m. and there was like 50 people waiting outside at the arcade. And then I'm like, whoa, why is there so many people here? And they said, we're going to New Jersey for a tournament. And
We're all fitting in one car.
yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much some people took cars and some people took trains. So we just took the New Jersey Transit to get there.
Right,
It
don't
was
really
called 8 on the
sell
Break.
these things.
Arcades still exist up to this day, and they still have tournaments, I think, for the most part as well too. Like
Well,
the
can't put
smaller
these
ones.
loudspeakers on.
And then it was called East Coast.
Is there a table I can
Championship
use?
5. And I got 5th place in Mars Capcom 1
Cat.
and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. And after that, it just got me so hooked on and so addicted to just wanting to keep going to tournaments and playing just different competition like around America. So I would say that's kind of like what made me want to go out to more tournaments.
Cool. What about you, Max?
Yeah, Echo sort of a similar story. Like the big tournaments that I've gone to, especially over the past 10 years, has definitely been Evo. Evo is always like a constant focus. I still haven't had a chance to even go to something like Combo Breaker, unfortunately. But I was there when it was called Ultimate Fighting Game Tournament, and it was run by Adam Hart Keats, and this was when him and Rick were sort of working together. That's the last one I went to, but I specifically was there at that time frame because it sort of coincided with the fact that a couple blocks away, Iron Galaxy was there, and I was literally working on KI and KI trailers, like leading up to the tournament dates, and then I would go to the tournament to commentate KI. That's been a lot of my tournament experience over the past 10 years, especially is because I'd have so many responsibilities at each tournament that I had to eventually just stop playing because I would get so disappointed with myself when I wouldn't do good because I have all these other things that I have to do, and I hadn't had a chance to practice, and I was busy 2 weeks making enough content for the YouTube channel, and I was like, oh god, like now I'm just asked at whatever games I signed up for. But for me, it actually goes all the way back to technically 1995, and in 1995 is the first, and I didn't even realize it, but I was essentially going to a local, a weekly local, at a rec room in where I grew up, and it was a Killer Instinct. And believe it or not, there'd be like I'm trying not to like overthink how many people it was, but there'd be arguably 20 to 30 kids to teenagers that would be playing KI because KI was so big. So they would have a Super Nintendo, and then people would rent out every single Super Nintendo, and KI would be in every single one. And then people would just be playing. I don't think it had a really good structure. It was more like arcade style, but everyone showed up to the same spot at the same time, right? And just like jammed on each other. And I was like the king of KI for 2 straight months. I like never lost. And eventually it was cool to see the people around me just eventually get better because I was the bad guy. Right. Yeah, you have to realize that if you're in a
People don't
tournament,
like
you're the
winners.
villain. Yes, if you're in a
People don't
tournament
like
situation and you like can't be beat, you are the enemy of the people. So everyone almost wants to see you lose, type of thing. So I got to experience that like sort of firsthand, right? That everyone, man, people popped off so hard on me when I eventually started losing. Man, it was brutal. But outside of that, yeah, I think, and I was like maybe 10,
wait,
10
soon
or
I
11
saw
years
this.
old. But when I was like 13-ish, Tekken 3 came out, and I went to a couple tournaments for Tekken 3 that were at like game stores and stuff like that. And I never did really well, but I always got, because these guys were like in their 20s, they were ancient creatures from the dark times, right? That still were standing on their husks of bodies, these 20-year-olds. And they would all compliment me and stuff like, wow, this kid's really good. Like, wow, it's crazy to see this kid's really good. I always appreciated that sort of, like admiration that you would get from people that were a bit older that like could recognize like, hey, this kid's really good at this stuff. So
Yeah, like more supportive.
exactly. And it wasn't just like I beat this kid's ass, you know. So I appreciated that. That actually was one of the things that encouraged me to continually get better at like an arcade stick with Marvel vs. Capcom 1. And I didn't really go to many tournaments for Marvel 1, but there was definitely a very like, when you're at the arcades, it's a very tournament-like situation because you want to stay on that machine and it's costing you money, right? And you're costing other people money to continually play. So I wanted to get better at that, right? So a lot of my quote-unquote tournament experience to start off actually began when I was like 10, It's Killer Instinct on Super Nintendo, believe it or not.
Yeah,
So that's cool.
I was gonna ask if it was arcade or Super Nintendo because I thought in the back of my head I was like, I bet it was the Super Nintendo
It's the
version
SNES
for
version,
some
yeah.
reason. That's crazy. That's weird.
No, but yeah, I would say that's like such a cool thing with like the fact that you have 10-year-olds popping off against
Yeah,
each other.
I was definitely one of the younger ones. But once again, it was definitely that situation. It was, like I said, it was a lot of teenagers. So like 15 to 16-year-olds that were, you know, that were definitely popping off quite a bit. And I was this like 10 to 11-year-old, you know. It was, Killer Instinct was the coolest thing in the world, you know. Can't help it.
Like,
Yeah.
like legally, you shouldn't have even been allowed to play Killer Instinct
Yeah,
at 10.
exactly.
So, criminal over here going against all the rules, playing. Because I think KI on the Super Nintendo is rated teen, but the arcade version is.
Yeah, that KI's weird. Like they've all been in a weird variety of teen to M ratings. Like Killer Instinct when it came out recently was teen, but then the definitive edition was M. It's very weird,
Yeah.
man. And if it's like M, it's like why couldn't they just have made Mira's blood red? Shit. Anyway.
No, but I would say just in general, so I think what we all have in common here is that we all went to EVO, right? And for a lot of people that loves fighting games and always wanted to attend to a tournament, should you guys go to EVO? And then I would say,
Also gotta do
in
some
my
sealing
opinion,
stuff
at
as
least
well.
now, there's so much stuff to do at EVO now, right? It's not even just a fighting game tournament anymore. It's a fighting game convention. So obviously you have your tournaments, you have, you know, you can
I saw the
spectate, watch
lights
all
as
the
well.
matches going on with all these different games. There's a community area where you could bring up, you could run side tournaments or just like BYOC, bring your own your own casuals. And then there's also the vendors. So much vendors with like Gaming Generation, Bait, and all these other brands that are just there trying to sell like evil exclusive products, right? And also just like cool stuff in general where people just love to buy stuff at a convention. And then also the panels, right? So many different panels. I think it's like 2 days worth of panels.
And also like new games, like new in development
yes.
games will show up there. I remember when the last time I went, and I just see Max, and Max is like goes by me, and he's like, "Sorry, I gotta go over here," and he's playing like God, I think it was Dragon Ball Z had like a setup or something.
Yeah.
It was either Dragon Ball Z or something else, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you go. I think you were playing with Xavier Woods.
I was playing with Xavier, yeah.
Oh, that's what it
Who's
was.
playing with
And, like,
Xavier
that's the
Woods?
really, like, for me specifically, that's like super fun stuff just to see, like, you know, new games. They're all fighting games or like fighting game adjacent. Sometimes you'll see in the indie area there's like like beat 'em ups or some action games sometimes. But it was just really exciting to see that it's like the first time I go, it's blossomed into like a whole convention because it makes sense. The first time I went to like an actual WrestleMania, they're like, all these people are here for this big event. That's just to see the event, but there's all these people that are willing to do other stuff. So have WrestleCon the same weekend. So there's all these other wrestling promotions, smaller ones, and there's like convention space and there's panels. And it makes complete sense, and I'm like super glad that exists in EVO like nowadays. Like I'm not sure, do other tournaments like, because I don't know, do other tournaments like CEO or Combo Breaker have that same sort of vibe where there's like other things you can do?
That's what I was going to ask is like, Justin, according to your recollect, I'd say I call it the con arc, right? When tournaments at one point, not at one point, over a gradual period of time, started becoming conventions, right? Where they weren't just fighting game tournaments anymore. And it's just like, wow, this just makes sense. Like, it's funny that there's all this stuff now for essentially people that aren't in tournament or might have like had very little time dealing with the tournament part of it, and now they get to do all this other stuff. That was the thing that always made EVO appealing, because once the tournament part is over, what's left? Vegas. You know, you have all the casinos, you have the entirety of Las Vegas at your fingertips, right? So I'm trying to think back. I'm going back to like when I was going to CEO, like 2014 or maybe 2015. And even at that point, it wasn't full like con arc yet, you know? It was still like a little bit. There was still some vendors. There were still some people doing some things outside of just hosting tournament stuff. Well, where was the moment for you, Justin, where you might have like seen that, like, oh yeah, tournaments are turning into conventions, and this is now like, because I think maybe it was Combo Breaker for me where I really started to see it like switch over, even though I didn't go there.
So I would say EVO definitely showcases the most when it comes down to a convention. I would say Combo Breaker is at a point where they can be a considered fighting convention, but the one thing it's like that makes it different. I would compare Evo as like it's the E3, right? While Combo Breaker is more of like PAX, where there's vendors there, you know, there's tournaments, but it's also meant for the community because it's 24 hours. So people are just playing fighting games for 24 hours in the same venue the whole time, and then there's Indie Alley, Artist Alley, and vendors that's only open during the day, and obviously the tournament's happening during the day. But there's also so much stuff for like people that are not in tournaments anymore to do, like auction tournaments, right? Where they have Killer Instinct auction tournaments or Marvel's Capcom 3 auction tournaments, and even just random side games that are just there and they're running a tournament for. So it's just at that point where I would say Comic Breaker is definitely part of the whole con arc, and CEO is definitely is more of a entertainment con arc, because Jabali always try to puts in wrestling, right? Wrestling's in the element where it ties in with the CEO with AEW that on 2019. So that one's like more of just like the entertainment, like flexing and like con art right there for sure.
Because I really want to go to CEO eventually in the future. Like I'm not like super interested in going to cons like this year. Just like I want to give it a bit more time and stuff. But
yeah,
Combo Breaker's happening like as of the time of this recording, it's happening like now-ish. And what's cool about being in Chicago, I've already seen our good friend Ketchup like finally gets to go to Galloping Ghost. So even something in Chicago, like outside the con space, like, you know, Chicago, there's stuff to do, there's places to go, and I would always recommend like go there to Galloping Ghost. We talked about it a bit before, but like for Vegas, I don't know about you guys, but like outside the E3, outside of Evo, I can't do Vegas anymore. It's just too much. Everything is there, and I can still smell the casinos, like that smell.
Destroy
that
the
they
walls
have.
here.
Cigarette smell.
It's old cigarette smell, but when I think of that smell, I also think of like Max, oddly enough, because we always wind up having dinner or whatever, and but I would say like if people do decide to go to Evo one time, it's like you have to be prepared for the huge markup on everything. You have to be prepared for Uber and taxi drivers taking you for a fucking ride. Like, they overcharge so much to go to anywhere and stuff. And it's like, but you can just stay at your hotel, you can just go to the convention space, you can buy a Cody body pillow from Zonk Knuckle if they show up to offer those again. You can see a cosplayer or two. There's the cosplayer from Japan, Non-Summer Jack, who showed up at Evo to do like a little booth signing thing, and I'm like, that's so cool. Like this is such a kind of cosplayer celebrity, and they're coming all the way to Evo just there because it's like there's gonna be some of my fan base is gonna be here, so why not? And you're already in Vegas, but you have to be careful about how much money you have to budget properly for Evo, like, because the first time I went, I was just like, okay, yeah, and then like I look at like, you know, I go home, I look at my finance, I'm like, no, that was rough.
I got like a personal Evo hack that me and Jessica would use every once in a while. It was at Mandalay, right? Because it looks like Mandalay is going to be the near future of Evo, kind of going forward, and they sort of have established that, like, you know, Luxor/Mandalay area is sort of where Evo's going to be. And there's a tram that you can take that goes from that area, like the Luxor-ish area, to the Strip a bit more, right? And like I think it outputs you right close to the Strip where like the New York is, and me and JJ would take some opportunity just like one night when I don't have any responsibilities or something like that, just to go away from Evo and just start walking up the Strip, but not outside.
Where is this
right? 'Cause the
mountable
cool
window
part about
blind?
that spot is that you don't have to walk like the streets. You can literally walk up like half of the Strip through hotels only.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun, enjoyable like walk, like either finding some place to eat or like some drinks that might be available through there, or just perusing each and every casino and finding out which one is smoking, which one is non-smoking, as you're going through them. It's actually really enjoyable. You have to walk back, obviously, but it's one of those things that like doesn't cost a lot of money. You get to peruse a whole bunch of what that part of the city has to offer, and you really enjoyed it. Like, had an absolutely great time, because for somebody like me, I'm doing so much talking,
Wait, hold on, I
and
had
so
to
much
break it
reading,
first.
and so much of that throughout like an Evo tournament
Oh?
that it's all encompassing, and I just have to I need to get away. I have to get away.
Yeah.
I'm not I might seem like I'm a social person, but I'm not a social person. And I'm like trying my best to be that. So I'm like, I need to start, let's go this way for a little while.
So that's like Excalibur is connected to like New York, I think.
I think so,
Like they're
yeah.
across the street, and then that's connected to.
You cross a bridge and then you just
Yeah.
peruse.
I did that exact same walk. Me and Leanna were like, okay, let's go get breakfast one morning while we're there during Evo, and we're like, okay, well, let's pick up some things like water and stuff, and just some stuff for our room. And we're like, oh, there's a Target like halfway, like I don't know, a 10-minute walk away from where we were. And then it's like we almost died during that walk.
Oh, good.
Because it was the middle of the day. It was like noon.
Oh, so it
And-
was like 130.
It's hot.
And it was outside away from the hotels. So we're just like, we're getting into the Target, like crawling on the floor. And like, let's just buy some water real
Dude.
quick. Because
Yeah,
because Evo always happens in summer, if you go to, I've been to Vegas in January and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like totally fine
But in
weather-wise. for the-
August, July.
Yeah,
You're on like
Don't go to
Mars.
Evo.
I have a funny story that sort of connects to that, because
Ooh.
at Evo 2012, right, we're getting into Evo tournament stories now, and my stories revolve around tournaments, right? It might not be like, oh, I did so good at this, but we wanted to do a very special episode of Assist Me, because it was our first panel at Evo 2012, so it was a ton of people there, and we wanted to do like a weird, like our Twitch live events, like a weird live action sort of like collides with the panel's sort of video experience, where it was like Assist Me Vegas edition. So we filmed all this stuff pre-Evo to make it seem like it's in Vegas, and then I'm like, all right, so when we're in Vegas, I'm gonna bring my editing rig. I brought all my computers and shit to like the actual like Vegas room where I would edit the stuff together, and I'm like, we will film Doom and Wesker making their way to Evo when we're actually there, and then we start realizing it's going to be so goddamn hot, because this guy's in like carbon fiber full suit,
Leather,
and
yeah.
then Doom is Doom, so he's always like hot behind the cloak, and I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. We get up at 7 in the morning where there's nobody around, and we essentially shoot Doom and Wesker running around the Vegas, because this is when it was at Caesars, I believe. It was at Caesars Palace. Right? Was it at Caesars Palace?
Caesar's
2012,
parking lot.
yeah.
We were at
But
Caesars for a
2010
while. Yeah, it was at
2010
Caesars
was
in 2012.
Caesars, yeah.
And then them running through Caesars Palace and running through the outside, and we had to film it at a very specific time of day when there was not that many people, and it was not blazing hot, but it was still 95 goddamn degrees, even in the morning. So yeah, we got that film that put together within like 4 hours, filmed, and then I edited it, and then we went to the panel and showed it, and then they ran in right as soon as the video ended.
Oh, that's
It was
awesome.
so goddamn hot. It was insane.
Yeah. So that's the other thing, like, people have to worry about for Evo. And like, I mean, CO happens in Florida
It's
too.
just
yeah?
as bad.
It's just it's swampier though.
It's just
like,
swampier, yeah.
What, it works here?
CEO's like Evo in many ways, where like a lot of my opportunities to go to these tournaments, especially over those years, like the mid 2010s, I took and jumped at the opportunity, because what's at CEO? It's in Orlando, Florida. So a hop, skip, and a jump, we were going to Universal and like Disney World and stuff like that, and that was great. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. So that's like, you got to think of like
Is this
when you're going to a
glitched?
tournament, what are like the
I think I
caveats
glitched it.
that sort of come with it, and what are the benefits of like what's around there? What can you go to?
especially if you're bringing like a significant other, or like even just a friend that just wants to come with you and stuff.
Yep.
When I mentioned WrestleMania before, and that was in Florida, and Jabali was just hanging around like wrestlers and doing things. And yeah, we saw Orlando, and we're like, we have to go to the Terminator 2 ride before they close it, because every few years they're about to close it to make way for like a fucking Harry Potter toilet or something. And we were like, we have to go, and I'm like so glad I saw that, because like a year or two later they actually closed it for good, and I was like, oh, I'm glad my eyes saw these things. so I mean, I've been to Chicago before, so like I know what's there. But are there any other like, you know, big tournaments that you guys have been to, or maybe Justin, like specifically, where you're like, oh, that was a really good one that maybe people don't know about that much? Because we're talking about like kind of the big three, but
Yeah, I feel like there's just so many tournaments in general. One that I really do love going, and I unfortunately missed it this year just because I can't travel to America at the moment, is Texas Showdown.
Yeah.
Texas Showdown is like is actually one of the longest running tournaments since like before I was even going to tournaments as well. And the best part is they really pay homage to like where they came from, meaning like they run a lot of modern games plus all of the old games that they always run tournaments for, because there's a really huge community around that area in Texas that plays a lot of the old stuff. So they make sure to kind of like keep like kind of like the people from like the old guard and also the people the new guard. So that's kind of what makes that tournament fun. I would say it's not really like con level. It's definitely more for like the hardcore scene where it's like, you know, just only a tournament. There's not much to do besides tournament. Obviously, you go out to eat food. But
I feel like it should be over here.
Since I just love playing the old games, it's just a good tournament for me, for my demographic, to just be there just to play those tournaments.
Cool. You were just at Canada Cup a few weeks ago too. How was that in general? I mean, I know how you did, but like, did you have fun? I'm assuming.
Canada Cup is usually kind of like a chill event where it's just like the tournament organizer just wants to get you drunk while playing a tournament. Literally, that's what he
run it.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
exactly.
I know
he's
exactly
the
what
one
you're
that's
talking
doing
about.
that. Yep. Because the whole weekend, the whole 3 days, I just always had a drink in my hand while playing or on stream or whatever.
While playing.
Yeah.
It's like on the arcade stick, just gyrating and splashing everywhere.
No, I need those hats, like those little beer hats. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Same time. That's an intimidation factor right there. One guy comes up and he's just like, he's pounding them away, and you're like, well, he's confident, isn't he?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say there's those type of tournaments, but normally there's a lot of just tournaments everywhere. There's like Birb majors in Philadelphia, from Big E. There's East Coast Throwdown from New Jersey. There's just, you know, even now, I would say because of the pandemic, there's so many online tournaments as well too, where people just want to just stay home and not have to travel, right? Like Spooky did it, ICFC is doing it with like Tenno Media. There's even tournaments around the world. Like there's always a tournament somewhere, I think, around the world when it comes down to the FGC.
Well, that's what I was going to mention for you, Justin, was that I think last year when we were at like peak of pandemic, right, and we were still in the unknowing of like how all of this stuff really works, you set yourself up with a challenge. And I think people forget, but you absolutely hate online and online tournaments. Like people are like used to it now because of like you're the content lord, right? So you had to start making content and stuff like that. But I remember you would never join. I remember us even trying to get you to get into our Ultimate Marvel 3 big Twitch tournament, and it's like, this is online through Parsec. When Justin joined, it's like, I don't know, man.
I don't like playing fighting games in online tournaments with bad netcode tournaments.
Yeah.
So if your tournament has bad netcode, then like, or your game, or just in general just has bad netcode, I wouldn't join. Like Parsec, Marvel 3 is like playable, but still like very, very different, very hard. And I personally just didn't like playing on it. So that's why I didn't join that one. But all the tournaments I did enter for when I set my goal for 100 online tournaments were mainly for tournaments that had
There's a
great netcode,
blind
aka
inside their
or Guilty Gear Strive
windows.
for the most part. But in general, it's just kind of like, it was like, because since that was the second year of the pandemic, the first year I didn't enter no tournament whatsoever for online, but everyone had online tournaments. But then I had a lot of people, especially just from like my community, really like
Alright, I gotta look this up. House Flipper.
We really do miss you entering tournaments. Is there any way we can change and think about entering tournaments for 2019 or like the following year? That's kind of why I made that goal of trying to win 100 online tournaments in 1 year. And I mean, it was fun because one, it's just free content. Two, it's just like people wanted to watch me play. And three, I'm just home in my underwear, just playing some fighting games,
Drinking beers.
drinking beers, you know, being comfortable. So it's definitely nice that we kind of we were able to adapt, because offline tournaments was the whole FGC, right? Every week was some offline CPT, Capcom Pro Tour Major or Tekken World Tour Major.
It works here,
And now we were able to adapt that.
but
to
it doesn't work in
online,
the other
where
one.
Even companies like the Arc System Tour was mostly all held online, as well as just many other tournaments made by the community, even Evo as well too. And I think it brought a lot of people back to fighting games and also wanting to actually go to offline tournaments now, because I think Common Breaker, for example, that's happening this when you watch this episode, it already passed the week before. It's their
Whatever.
biggest.
This was gonna be
tournament
incomplete.
yet.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things because of that. It's also Combo Breaker, the first one that's been in 2+ years. You know, because of the pandemic, they're actually standing strong and going for it. I hope, as if this thing, you know, goes live, I hope everyone is staying safe and no one got sick or anything like that, because there's always going to be the risk of that happening. But because it is like the first big one, like the first very large scale like tournament event of that size,
And it's just the
everybody
last
showed up,
through.
you know, and Guilty Gear is arguably one of the biggest games there. I think it is going to go down as being one of the biggest.
Oh, my dog was
And
here the whole
it's
time.
like a perfect storm situation where there is a lot of people introduced to Guilty Gear because it
It's a
was the
garage.
perfect fighting game for the pandemic.
Oh yeah,
at the
there's
time.
things to do
And
here.
now people actually hopefully get to show that skill in a live setting, where the situation will be very different, because offline Guilty Gear, even though rollback netcode is amazing, it is still not the same as offline. Your reaction time is up by like 2 to 4 frames, you know, so it's a big difference.
And just like the atmosphere of being at like a live event, like I'd say affects people, right?
That's a great point, is that a lot of people are used to being in their comfort zone when it comes to fighting games, and being in the comfort zone is like you with your own stick around your own friends in your own situation with your own camaraderie, right? But the people, and Justin can absolutely back this up, the people that are really good are the ones that are able to play under the most volatile of circumstances and still perform. Like, are you using your arcade stick? Are you playing on an arcade machine that you're used to? Like, you had to adapt to all these weird things and people heckling you and all this crazy shit. So that's a big part of it, if you can hold yourself strong, even when all that crazy shit is happening.
Yeah, there was like 2 instances, for example, like way back in the day, before there was like, you know, proper seating. People would just literally huddle up, like a crowd, like literally just huddle, like looking below your shoulder.
Yeah.
You could feel their breath
You
on your
can,
neck
you can
while
hear a
playing
video camera
tournaments.
right next to you, like next to your ear. You're like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, you could literally just like feel everything, because it's
Ugh,
like
gotta
heat
complete it like this
on all
because of the
body heat, and you're just
glitch
sitting there
here.
playing, in the tournament set. Like stuff like that is kind of crazy, because obviously now it's more mandated and it's a lot ordered. There's a lot of space between the players now. But recently I was you know, just reading up like on just kind of like the comments, everything, and pretty much for Guilty Gear Strive on Texas Showdown, one player just couldn't perform at all, and like just
Yeah, that's
pretty
gonna
much
bother me.
choked throughout the whole entire tournament, because of like the crowd just being like so loud and heckling. And it's because probably that person was probably started playing fighting games during
They're
the
used to their
pandemic,
comfort zone.
right? Right, playing at home with the underwear, no loud noises, so much space, and they just couldn't handle it. So that's definitely gonna be a very big problem that a lot of people will still have and will have in the future, especially if you're coming from an online era and learning how to play fighting games and wanting to go to these events.
Yep.
Related but unrelated, like something like that kind of happened to me, where it's like I spent like the last 2 years watching every movie.
They don't have a Husky
experiencing
available.
every game in my home, right? And if I'm watching something I'm not really liking or whatever, it's like I can take my phone out, I can do whatever. It's in my house, and like for 2 years did not go to a single movie theater. Then when we went to go see a movie, it was unfortunately Venom 2, which I
That
hated.
movie sucked, man.
I love you, Max. Good. And I hated it so much, but I couldn't look at my phone. You know, I'm in a theater, whatever, and I didn't have anything to distract me, and I just started getting anxiety attack. Like, I was stuck. Well, I'm not like trying to like.
Stuck with this horse shit.
Wait, no, I
I'm
want
not trying
to do the
like,
mission
make it
again,
on
see
Venom
if
too.
I
Like,
can
even if it was a movie I was
improve.
really, really liking, or a thing, media.
Well,
and
let
let's say
me
it was
go
just
up to the
departed
top
and,
floor
like, or,
first.
something, I still had no outlet. Like, I can't do anything. I'm basically like I have to be here for the rest of the movie. And I did walk out for a second and come back in, like I went to the bathroom, whatever. But it was still weird. It was like it's never happened to me before. And then when I went to go see like Spider-Man, I love that movie so much. So in theaters, so that was fine. But when you like, I can understand like a tournament player who's like maybe been playing for like last year and a half. Like
I don't see any blinds. Here we go, there are the blinds. Okay.
Reactions. That's interesting.
So here's a big one, especially when old arcade tournaments, and once again, Justin,
Alright, let's
echo
do this real
is
quick.
that you'd be going to your arcade, right? Or you're used to your sticks and your machine. And then you'd have to, and a lot of these old machines were not these Japanese like Sanwa sticks and stuff like that. They were these big ass bat top, classic SF2 type things. Even on Marvel 2, they literally had concave buttons where people were just like breaking calluses on their hands, mashing Storm Super and shit.
Yep.
And so when you went to another arcade to compete and there was a tournament, you had no idea what that machinery was going to be like, right? So you'd go and you'd be expected to do well, and then you'd realize like, oh god, something this bat stick is a super tight one. Like you flick a boom and it pops back. You're like, okay, so there's no looseness to this shit at all. Getting used to that kind of stuff, right? Like the really gritty arcade nature of how it was in the 90s and the early 2000s is a huge part of your adaptability and how you can adapt to your situation and be like, okay, what do I do because this is now not what I'm used to? How do I adapt to this?
Yeah, arcade tournaments were very brutal just because there's so many things, like you said, sticks feels different, the machine breaking down. And speaking of the machine breaking down, there was a Marvel Capcom 2 tournament that I entered in the year 2001, right at the break, 8 on the break, and this is when like Ricky Ortiz came down to play, and so many people around America came down to play at this tournament for the game. What you know about Marvel Capcom 2 started on Sunday at 10 a.m., right? And it was a 500-man tournament with 4 arcade machines. And that tournament ended Monday, 11 a.m.
Well, I thought you were going to say that tournament's still going.
I mean, might as well be. But Monday, 11 a.m. I was sleeping under like the basketball games, just like napping and like waiting for them to call my name. And
This is a great story.
And there's so many like machines they just kept breaking down, or they're just like people complain, oh, like the direction it doesn't work. So like we can't tell if you're lying or whatever. So they, the technicians, I don't see anything wrong with it. They're like, no, keep testing it. So one match could last for like an hour, right? And this is a 500-man double elimination tournament. Bro. So
500 double elimination tournament.
On Monday morning, and just waiting to play. But then they're like, the cabinet keeps breaking down. But eventually, we were able to finally get through the whole tournament, and I won that tournament. But man, it was just literally a 24-hour Marvel Capcom 2 tournament. That was just kind of crazy.
How much did you even win for that?
$2.
No,
Was it like
I think it was
grand?
like 400. No, it was like $450.
Oh man,
because it was $5 entry fee.
So here's a funny thing I have to make people like sort of realize is that what Justin's saying is essentially what people were playing for many years, right?
Yeah.
Like a few $100 was like a good payout for a lot of these tournaments event, and even like big things like Evo. You were, and I go back and I think of like the Evos that I went to when I first started going to
wait,
Evo,
there's
which was
something
like
that still needs to
Third
be
Strike was the biggest
done.
tournament. And there was like 300 people, and it was like, holy shit, this is like the biggest fighting game tournament ever type of shit. And it was like, oh, there's so many people here for Third Strike now. But then I started to think about it, and I'm like, man, minus like venue fees and everything like that, these guys are getting maybe like $1,500 to $2,000. Like that's it for like the World Championship. The overall prize pools for fighting game tournaments for arguably like almost 25 years were very small. And then
Like
eventually,
compared
like,
to the amount of people that were.
yeah,
like,
yeah. Well,
entering them,
it seemed like comparatively, like this is just one thing to show, like fighting
There
games
we go.
technically are, and how many people. Like, because it felt like everything to us, especially like me and Justin. Like when you're going to SRK or IRC and you're talking to these people and discussing all this stuff and how like focused and tight it actually was, because the prize pools were always ridiculously small. Even when Street Fighter 4 started happening, it got bigger, right? It definitely started to increase in size, but I mean, winning an Evo for Street Fighter 4, I don't think was outpaying 10 grand. You know, even
No, it was not.
even if Daigo was winning, he was not getting like even 5 grand. I think, even when it seemed to be at its biggest. It was only when like Capcom showed up and started offering big payouts for like the 25th anniversary tournament when that one first happened, and then other companies started following suit. And they started to actually put prize pools in there. But to be like, has anyone ever won like $1 million from like a fighting game tournament? I don't think so. I don't think it's
Not
ever.
from one fighting game tournament, probably not.
Yeah, not like a tournament series or anything. Like I don't
Yeah.
think any. Specific, it has never gotten that big.
None that we know about, but maybe there's like these dark kumites that are
Yes.
underground that like you get to
In
win some guy's
Dubai.
house. Yeah, yeah, like a high rollers type thing, you know, like that could exist, right?
I mean, there's a lot of those random tournaments, kind of like comic book store tournaments, where it's like $500 for first place, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of tournament players would keep it a secret.
Yes.
Just because
You don't want competition to
they're
show
the
up.
big, yeah, because
Right.
I absolutely did that.
Respect that.
So,
Respect
I mean,
that.
the one thing is that, and I wanted to echo this, the prize pools weren't crazy. Like, you weren't making a crazy amount of money. It was just fun because you were essentially like hustling, right? You were hustling your money
Yeah.
you're making your money by playing video games, which was amazing, right? At any point, if you were getting paid out, whenever I won tournaments, like, I remember constantly being flabbergasted because I always, like, my goal was always to just play games in front of, like, an audience of people. That was always my personal passion with arcade games or DDR or anything, right? So when I would win a tournament, this dude would come up and hand me like a wad, like a crunched up with like dollar bills, and there's change and shit, and he would just put it in my hand. I'm just like,
Wow.
oh, yeah, that's right. Like, oh shit. But for a lot of people, like, this was their, for someone that wasn't a casual tournament goer like me, this was like their thing, right? So Justin, I would love to hear your perspective on this. It wasn't about just making money from tournament winnings. It was about making money from where the money actually was, money matches.
Matches, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, because like I went to tournaments just like everywhere, right? And the prizes for usually each tournament for like if I won like Marvel 2 or Third Strike out of like a major, it would be like 300,
Which is nothing.
right?
That
Which
covers
is
like
nothing,
that
right?
covers like your stay.
You're sick, put a
Yeah,
dog on the
pretty
treadmill.
much. So then a lot of times we would just
Oh,
money
I
match
can't.
people because you would talk a lot of crap on SRK forums or IRC, and you would just set up money matches with like other players for like $20, $50. So ultimately, that's kind of where a lot of your money that gets made. Like I remember going to Final Round, which is a big tournament in Atlanta, and the first time I went there, I had because I never played the South, or the South never played me. I literally had those like Trapper Keeper notebooks, and I brought it with me, and then because I had all these names of like, okay, you want to play me in the first and 3 for 20, blah 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 blah. It was a full
Wow.
page, like literally like 50 lines worth. And then I would just search for people and be like, hey, are you this person? Are you
Hunting
this
them and their
person?
money down.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, are you this person?
Are you Toe Sucker 69? I'm meeting you.
I'm here to get your money, bitch.
Yeah, it was literally just a notebook full of
That's
paper.
hilarious.
I have a picture of it. I forgot someone took it, but it's just me sitting in like a car with my notebook, and I had a lot of just 20s spread out, and then I'm wearing like the most baggiest clothes, like a thug.
Wait, is this an actual picture that was posted on SRK?
Yeah.
I've seen this picture. 100%
Wow.
I've seen this picture. You're like wearing the most mid 2000s-ish looking
Yeah.
attire.
I'm pretty sure you could Google it, but it's just me have a smug look and just me holding a water cask.
He looks like he
with
came from Def
notebook.
Jam.
I was about to say.
Straight out of Fight for New York.
Just going through like his list of people he's knocked off. All right, who's next?
No,
Goldberg
it
over
really,
here.
yeah, it really is a picture though.
Oh, that's amazing. I don't think Max has, but I wanted to know, like, you've done tournaments in Japan, maybe Europe.
Yeah, I've been to, I would say, like my goal obviously for going to
Alright,
tournaments.
don't think
is
anything
not-
on the top
Max
floor.
said,
I
it
think
wasn't
just
really
everything
for
under downstairs
money.
now.
It was for, like how Max wanted to play in front of people. For me, it was life experiences. Like I wanted to travel
Alright,
around
this
the
room.
world and then do tourist shit. Beside, after the tournament, before the tournament. So that was like my goal, is to create all these type of memories and and have my eyes see all these different sites that, probably a lot of people would never really get a chance to do just because it's so hard, right? So I went to tournaments in Australia, Southeast Asia, Asia in general, Japan, Korea, Europe, and South America as well too. So it was definitely pretty awesome to see kind of like the different type of cultures of FGC, because one, I would say in the Western area, we have tournaments down packed, like in terms of how to run a tournament. Even like, America does a really good job at that, but around the world, it's so like maybe 10 years behind of like how people would run tournaments in like America. But the community though, it's so tight, it's so passionate, because they don't really win money, or they don't have a chance to win that much money, especially in South America scenes or some parts of Asia. They just do it because they love fighting games, right? And I think that's the beauty of it, that most people that do play fighting games are people that really do love just to play fighting games with other people.
And I think Justin was at this tournament too, but these opportunities that you get to like go to places and you're like, man, we gotta take this. Like if you could take me and like, I usually my requirement was like, you have to take me and my wife, right? And you have to pay for their accommodations and sometimes a friend. There's a little tournament that took place in 2000, I believe it was 13. Hallowed be thy name, but it was the legendary VXG. And yeah, this thing took place in St. Martin, right? So an island out in the middle of the ocean, in the Atlantic Ocean, and they covered the accommodations for a lot of people, and then also didn't cover the accommodations for a lot of people. I'm hoping Justin, because I think you were at this one, right? The last VXG.
So I had a terrible story for that.
Oh no!
So
Did you get compensated or no?
So I did.
Okay.
So I was able to bring my ex at the time and my dog, right? And then
You have to pay for my dog's accommodation.
yeah, for real. So we get our own like I guess like room our stay, and while we're just there, bro, like the main person, he just left me hanging for like hours, and there was like the electricity just didn't work in the room, and he just left me there for hours and hours, and then literally like there was just bugs everywhere because I gave my dog food, and literally when I looked, there's just bugs all over like the dog food. So I was just so pissed already, and then eventually a different couple just entered our room.
What?
So I was just like, bro, I'm so pissed. And then my dog got sick, started throwing up everywhere. So I literally was like, I'm going home right now. And I booked the flight and just went back home, literally on the same day.
That's what I remember, you sort of being there. That's why like I was asking about that, because I was like, I remember you being there, but then like not. And so that's what happened. You ended up just piecing the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's elsewhere in the world though. Is there like one that stood out as like really awesome, like a good memory of like the
That's
like
a good
you,
question.
You
Yeah,
kinda
like what's
mentioned?
best
Yeah,
time
like-
memories?
Because that's a negative one, but do you have like a really like positive one?
Let's see. So I guess it first it started from a negative, but then it became a positive. Going to Australia. Australia is at the time was a 24-hour flight from New York. So I was stuck on a plane for 24 hours. And once I landed, obviously, customs says, "Excuse me, sir, we have to search you." So I always get bodied by that. And while that was happening, he looked at me and said, "Inside your DS, your Nintendo DS, there's crack in it." And I was like, "What do you mean crack? Like drugs?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, what is he saying? Like, you're saying there's drugs inside my Nintendo DS? And then I said, "Open it. Like, if you think there's drugs, open it." And he looked at me and looked at his coworker and he said, "You're good to go." And I'm so confused on what just happened right here. But that was like the negative. After that, just like going to like the tournament, like the opera house and the zoo and just all the tourist stuff. It was super fun. They had like 20 games. It it was kind of like a convention because there was like booths there and they had like arcades and there also had console setups. So it was just amazingly fun because I never would have thought that I would ever meet anybody from Australia playing fighting games just because it's so far. So I would say that's kind of just like a really fun memory for me.
And you have to have really good rollback netcode to play someone from Australia online, let alone just the time difference.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because there's just like so many times where you can have a really good experience and also a shady experience or a bad experience. Like one time we were supposed to go to a tournament in North Carolina, and one of our Marvel 2 friends, because FGC is poverty, right? Actually, came on the Amtrak train and without a ticket, right? So he's trying to smuggle himself. He's trying to smuggle himself into the train, right? So then now we didn't know that they recheck your tickets again. So he's like, oh shit, I'm screwed.
It was an Indiana Jones 3 situation. No ticket.
Yeah, what are we supposed to do? So it was like one of those long seats, like those long benches, right? So we literally put him under the floor, like on the floor, and we covered him with bags and jackets, right? So I'm literally, so let's say I'm sitting down, and he's literally under me, but there's padding, so he doesn't feel like we're squishing him, and we're obviously trying not to like step on him, right? Ultimately, this is a 13-hour train ride.
13 hours.
Yeah, 13-hour train ride. So he's stuck there for 13 hours, no bathroom, no food, and unfortunately, I had this orange juice, and I spilled it. I spilled it on top of him.
Did you forget he was there?
I forgot he was there. But the crazy part was when I spilled it, I looked down. I definitely didn't say a word.
Where did my thing go?
I'm not gonna say it's me or anything. I want to see what happens when he gets up.
You guys just looked at each other right in the eyes. He's like, you did that to me. He's like, I did that to you.
So when he got up, because we got to our stop, he was like, yo, did someone spill orange juice on me? And no one replied. Because I didn't reply. So maybe if he watches this podcast, he'll know that it's me finally.
Nobody replied.
But I definitely didn't reply. But then after that, we thought about, so what are we going to do on you going back? And then he said, bro, don't worry about it. I'm going to money match everybody just to get my ticket back. And that's what he did. He got second in the tournament, and he money matched everybody to go back to New York without having to get back on the floor.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
That's a good story. I have a weird
that
one
is the
from
most...
when I was like, I don't know, I might have been 15 or 16. Marvel 2 was already out on the Dreamcast, so it was a new game, and I had heard of a tournament in this wonderful part of the earth called Bakersfield in Southern California, and this place is just nature's asshole in the middle of nowhere, right? So my mom drops me off at this store, right, so she can go shopping and like pick up groceries and stuff, because I lived in like the mountains, so we had to like take ventures. We had to take the Oregon Trail to go get to get food.
Don't get dysentery.
She dropped me off right at a little game store that had a Marvel 2 tournament, and I ended up getting second or third. I can't remember, but I did get winnings, right? Actually, no, it was store fucking credit. So I got a copy of Virtua Tennis on the Dreamcast, and that was it. But I met at that time. I sort of got exposed to a completely other FGC, which was the Bakersfield fighting game community, and there's a couple of guys that were talking to me because I was pretty decent at the game, and we just started hitting it up and chatting and talking about how people actually make money off playing video games and stuff like that. This is like 1999, maybe 2000, and all these like crazy things that sound absolutely foreign, crazy, bizarre, and weird to somebody that's from like the year 2000. And he's like, yeah, we should go down to the mall and see who's there and play Marvel 2. So without telling my mom, right, I just jumped in these guys' car who were like,
oh my god.
18 or 19. I don't know if I ever told her this story. She probably would have fucking killed me.
Stranger danger, dude.
Dude, but I mean, they weren't like that much older than me, but they could drive. So we were just chilling it and talking and went to the mall. Right, I got to show off some cool Strider combos in the mall. Some guys were like, "Hey, this kid's pretty good," type stuff, and this nice camaraderie. And then they took me back to the store and dropped me off. So nothing nefarious happened.
Wow.
It was just like, in retrospect, I think of like what I did. And I was like, God damn, that was stupid. Like, wow, that was really dumb. Like, just to jump in some dude's car.
But you got to show off cool Strider combos. So
I
it's
did, and I was
well
really
worth
happy.
it.
I was super cool with it.
So crazy story here. One,
Crazier than the orange juice?
one, if anyone's watching that's like, you know, under 18 or a kid or whatever, you know, never lie to your parents. Don't be like us. But I also did lie to my family. I was at Chinatown Fair playing some video games.
As you do.
Yep, as I do. And then this guy named Alex came up, right? And he said, "Hey kid, you're good. Do you want to go to a tournament?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, how far is it? Like, and you know, what's the prize?" So he's saying, "Oh, you know, there's a lot of money on the line. You know, a few $100 for like Marvel 2, and CVS 1." So I was like, "All right, cool." So I jump into his car, right? I don't even know his last name. I just know it's Alex at the arcade. He plays Ken. I jump in his car, and then I just doze off, right? I doze off, and this is probably around like 11 a.m. I doze off, and I wake up, and it's like 5 p.m., right? And then we're still in the car, and I'm like, "Where are we?" He's like, "Oh, we're almost there. We're already in Maryland." And I'm like, "Maryland?" And I live in New York, right? So he's like, "Yeah, where are we going?" He's like, "We're going to Virginia, right, for a tournament." I'm like, "Oh, so you didn't want to?" I mean, I guess I could have asked that, but you didn't want to mention to me that you were going to take me on like a 5-hour car ride to go to Virginia, right? And then we get there to this arcade called Game Time USA.
Luckily, there's a tournament, by the way.
Yeah.
Luckily, there is a
was
tournament.
close.
Alright, there we go.
And then we got there super late, so I had to start from the losers bracket, literally from like the losers bracket at the tournament for both games, right? Because they were holding off my matches, and you know they had to DQ me from winners. So I eventually won the tournament for both games, and I got like $600. And to me, as a 14-year-old kid, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. This is like a dream come true, right? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, so can we go home now? Because at least like I had to call my parents and tell them, oh yeah, I'm a bit late. I'm at my friend's house in New Jersey, blah blah blah. So they were cool with it, right? But I said I was in New Jersey.
Oh, but too, okay, more risk. Factor sounds like a great success. One man's operation at first there was a handful of paid employees and volunteers. Enables rescue of new hall. The current problem is lack of space. Thanks to a new local sponsor, you can find it by an old animal shelter next to this renovation.
10 p.m. and
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, well, how can I get home? I'm 14 years old, didn't have a cell phone, I had a beeper. They're like, well, it's either you wait till Tuesday for my car to get repaired. This is Saturday night, by the way.
Yet I feel it's just the beginning. There is still a lot to do. I've planned it from the very first day. I worked so hard, and we got it. A real game changer for pets. They deserve a decent place to heal before they find their homes. This place. Here, they will get everything they've always missed. We'll do our best to make them feel wanted and important. It will be a refuge for the neglected. A haven for the abandoned. A starting point for a better tomorrow.
We gotta do some lawn mowing.
I'm a 14-year-old, you know, still going to school. So you want me to skip school in a different state and then go home on Tuesday. So I was like, is there any other option? And they said there's Greyhound, right? So I took the Greyhound by myself at 14 years old at like 2 a.m. going to New York, and then coming home around 8 a.m. and you know, I open the door, the lights is on, and I'm like, oh my god, that ass beating is about to come. And best believe I definitely got so much in trouble from that tournament because I came home the next day, and they still didn't know I went to Virginia though. I stuck steady and true. I was at my friend's house in New Jersey, and I fell asleep, and I'm sorry. So they did not get because if I said Virginia, and I probably wouldn't even be here right now.
So tell your family to skip this episode of Triple KO, basically, right?
But yeah,
How much did the Greyhound cost?
it was like $50.
Oh,
okay,
cheap.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It's like the worst travel possible next to biking,
It is.
so it's gonna be cheap.
Just hitchhike there, you know. There's a tournament I just popped in my head that I did not go to because it was the same weekend as a PAX East, and I was showing off a game I was working on at that time, so I had to go to that. But I really wanted to go to the KI World Cup. I know Max was there. Did you go to that, Justin, or no?
No, I never been to one, but I heard it's like a pretty cool event because there's like this one guy that has like the hugest KI collection, so he brings like his whole KI
Zero.
museum to the tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's gonna say Mac.
I actually brought a whole bunch of my stuff that he didn't have. K0. I talk to him all the time, and we're actually KI aficionados, and we'll like, do you have this yet? Do you have this yet? Like, did you bid on it? Did I bid on it? Like, type of stuff.
So how did that event, like, how was that? Because I think I asked you briefly, like, the weekend after, like, oh, how was that? I didn't get to, like, see much. I caught a bit of it, like, on stream, so.
If this was the 2016 one, right, which was in, like,
Yeah.
it wasn't at, like, the big venue thing yet, which was the 2017 one. In 2016, it was at this little, like, corner of a place in San Antonio. And I'd argue that is, like, the most FGC sort of, like, this is the community sort of event I've ever been to. Like, just everybody here, and it wasn't a ton of people, probably, like, less than, like, 100 to 200. But everybody here came from all corners of the world that just absolutely loved Killer Instinct, and they were here for it. It was the devs, it was the Microsoft guys, just all crammed into this little, like, ballroom type of thing. Very small, in, like, a shopping mall.
Okay, so, sorry, I was thinking the 2017 one for sure, because that was the one that was, like, really advertised and had a
Yes.
bunch of shit going on.
Yes, that one was okay. Like, that one definitely looked better from the outside. But I'd say personally, like the 2016 one where everyone's like sort of crammed into this little space and it looks bigger than it is type of thing, was the epitome of like what a community comes together that just loves the shit out of something. It was the one that I think I hosted the actual event itself. So when I was like walking around getting interviews with people, showing off the Killer Instinct collections, like introducing like the players and top 8s and stuff like that, and then there was commentators and like commentated every once in a while. But that event was truly magical. And they also demoed and showed off the seasonal changes to season 3 of KI, how everything was changing. So that was the one where we got everybody's reaction that was in the crowd to like, here's how Jago's changing, here's how Sephiroth is changing. Everyone was like, what the, like people were just like losing their minds and like what's happening to the game type of stuff live. It was so it was so beneficial for the game and so cool to see like all of that happen live. I absolutely loved it.
That's awesome, because the other thing I had going on that was similar to that was when I was at the PAX East previously of 2016. That's when they're showing off Hisako for the first time, and I was in the room for that. I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Because up until then the characters were still silhouettes.
Yeah.
You love that, Max, huh? You love that when characters are silhouettes, huh?
Yeah, especially since I made those.
Wow!
Since I created Broccoli Man inadvertently. No one said that he looked like a big husk of broccoli.
Legend of Broccoli Man began with you. It's crazy.
So I think to wrap this stuff up, I want to talk about possibly like best tournament memories / experience. So I mean, for all of you guys, I'll just go around and start with Justin. Like, what's your best like tournament memory experience sort of thing that you can recall?
I guess
Evil Moon
I would
37.
say the best experience I ever had going to a tournament was probably my first time ever going to Japan. And that would be in 2005. And even though we talked about this, and the reason why I went there was for a very bad game that I qualified for that we talked about a few times, Capcom Fighting Jam. I won a qualifier for Capcom Fighting Jam, and that got me 2 free plane tickets to go to Japan. So even though the game was terrible, I'm very
not
happy
all
with that
bad.
game. You know, it's all not. No, it was just a super fun experience. First time ever going to Japan, just because it's kind of like my brain just exploded, right? With like all this like culture. I love Japanese culture. I love anime. I love video games and fighting games are taken so seriously there as a community. Even going to any arcade, there's always somebody that just runs the arcade as like the best player, right? And like as like a boss. So, and in the actual tournament itself, it felt like it was like something like crazy. The Super Bowl, because
does
Super Battle
everything.
Opera, which was the
Even though it's just 99%, but sometimes
they
they
had like
it
this
glitches
huge
out
arena,
sometimes, yeah.
the intros were super sick. Everyone came out like kind of like on some like, you know, like wrestling entrance and everything, and it just had so much energy. And because of that, I feel like it never was able to replace, like, even up to this day, a tournament that was like Super Battle Opera, just because of the amount of pure production of just like everybody
they were the big
coming
ones.
out and the announcements. It just felt so right, and I think that was still probably my favorite experience, just in general, just because I was able to experience so much stuff during that trip.
Just for perspective, just called Super Battle Opera, it was SBO, right? And what we would do in the early 2000s, because SBO was like usually where players would hold tech and then they would show it off at SBO and win the tournament with it, because this was like the big esports spectacle. They would make
these are ball
VHS/DVDs of this tournament, right? And they would sell them in Japan. So long story short, eventually these made them their way around to the US, and people would essentially record the DVDs off of like a VHS tape to a VHS tape. So I still have several old SBO DVDs / recorded tapes of like SBO 2001, 2000 and stuff like that, because it was the only place you could actually see these players play these games and to see what they did, right? Even though it was like brutally low quality 140p type shit, you can get like, was that a roll cancel? Like, what is going on? Because that's where it was first shown off, you know? So it was cool. It was really, and Justin was actually a part of that for Fighting Town.
Yeah, and there was no YouTube, right? Because there was no YouTube, no Twitch, no streaming service. So it was either you had to be at the tournament there with like those giant cameras that you're recording on like kind of handy cam, or like Max said, you buy the DVDs from the actual tournament itself.
The tape of a tape.
Even Evo sold DVDs for like what, since 2000? No, since V5.
Yeah, because James
I
Chen
think I
was the
still
one
have
putting
some.
those together, I think, right?
Yeah, I think James Chen was the one that was making sure these get the DVD. So they were able to sell so much of that, because like if you weren't there, you would be on the forums hitting just refresh to see who won the tournament.
Yes. Yeah. How about you, Matt? Is any specific like big tournament things that immediately pop to your mind, or good fun memories, even on the viewership end?
There's this really, I'm really sorry I have to get the details of this. A tournament organizer asked me years and years ago, like 10 years plus, like, can you create intros for when our games like start their like brackets or whatever, or top 32 maybe. So you know, like some tournaments will have like little video packages, like kind of showing off the game, and they wanted stuff about the dumb Street Fighter and Capcom cartoons, like the stupid American series, and one for Darkstalkers as well. I'm trying to remember what tournament it was, but like again, it was 10 years ago, and this is when I was doing those things, when making those montages of like Street Fighter and
drink some
Guile
water
going,
before it's getting
"Bison!"
stripped.
And I thought that was so cool that it would be used in that way. So that was really
To
neat.
hype people up.
Yeah, exactly. That was its entire purpose. But now it's like that email is probably long lost to the digital ether. I thought that was really neat, and certainly, you know, I've already mentioned Evo a couple of times, but going into the Mandalay Bay Arena, like the where all the big screens, I always get wowed going into any sports auditorium arena thing, because they don't do it often, obviously. So when I go in there, I'm just like, wow, like everything just mystifies me. I'm so amazed.
Yeah.
So being there for the first Evo I'd gone to, looking at the finals, I think it was 2017 maybe. And I was just awestruck by that. Obviously, you know, I'm not a tournament player, so I don't have much experience or memories in there, but like those two moments kind of stand out for me.
And for me, I think the big thing, and related to tournaments, but not like directly related to competing, was especially like Evo and our panels, because our panels ended up being like some of the most visited panels that they had at Evo, and getting these like congregated things where we could just literally see the people that have been watching and following all the stuff we've been doing for so long, and have it to be all fighting game focused, you know, over so many years was so incredibly cool, and we would always try to top one panel to the next, to the next, to the next, until it was just like exhausting and we just couldn't do it anymore. It's like, man, this is so much work now.
I think I remember that last year. You were like rolling up posters in your hotel room all night before, and I stopped
rolling up posters, signing them, getting Benny to sign posters for like 16 hours or something like that, because we just gave them away for free.
I stopped in to like help for 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted already, but you guys have been doing it for like hours.
For so long, dude.
Yeah.
But the big one was, I think, Evo 2015, and I was watching the finals because there was a fire marshal was saying that there was too many people at the I think it was the Bally's. I think that's where we were.
Yeah, Bally's.
And that area wasn't that big. It was not as big as Caesar. So they were warning people that there's too many people in here for finals. And I was like, well, Jesus Christ, fuck it. You know, let's just go get a pizza and go back to the room, and I'll try to hook us, buy some Wi-Fi and watch it on the big screen in the room. And so we did that, and we had like all of our friends and all of us just like chilling on the bed eating pizza. And we were just watching finals, and then they get to the Cannon Awards, right? And James Chen and Ultra David win the Cannon Award. I'm like, oh shit, that's so awesome. Those guys absolutely deserve that, man. They've been doing this. James Chen's been writing game facts since like 1885. So I'm like, these guys absolutely deserve this shit. And then somebody in the room at the same time is just like, what if you got one? I'm like, no way they would give me one. And then I'm not even kidding you, right after that, and they're like, our next Cannon Award goes to Maximilian. Where are you, Max? And I'm like, my heart sank to the bottom of my feet, and I was like, I'm such a piece of shit. I'm not there in that room. I fucking hate myself. I'm so mad. So at that point, I had to take Benny out as well, and I ran my ass all the way through, like, there's 2 hotels you had to run through to get there, because it was Paris and Bally's. Ran my ass through it. I had to tell the guys that were saying, no, you can't come through the fire marshal. I'm like, they want me on the stage, bro. And I eventually made my way up there. They had sort of delayed the stream because people were crowding the hallways a bit too much. They had to be running room in case there was a goddamn fire. And that was my big opportunity to like make it to main stage Evo in some way, in a way that I was not prepared to, that I was unanticipating and never thought I would. And I got up there, and potentially, in my opinion, like, or at least to me, like the best way it possibly could, because it was just, everyone was just super happy about the stuff we had done. Just a celebration of that. It meant the world to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
I was gonna say the other like really brief thing I forgot, just at Evo, it's like I met, like kind of like how you mentioned your panels, I met people in real life that like I kind of knew on the internet. Like that's where I met Flamethrower for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, you're tall and Irish, like you're. And he's like, I'm Flamethrower. I'm like, Lee, like Flamethrower. He's like, yeah. I'm like, you're just here. Like we bumped into each other at like the pool or something. It was so odd, and then we just hung out like for the rest of the day, everyone, and it's just a really cool meeting place, because I think that was like a random year. He was just like, oh, I had the opportunity to go, and I just decided to go. So it's always cool, like any sort of convention. That's what's missed from online events, is that connection of meeting people you otherwise wouldn't. So.
It's the same thing I miss E3. I'm just like seeing these people you see like once a year, and they're just super happy to see you. They want to show you all their cool shit. Yeah, I miss it.
Fortunately, we'll be able to bring all of this to all of you when Devo becomes a thing in the next couple.
Let's go, Devo.
Let's go, Devo.
Dang Evo.
I think Capcom does a great job when they're adding like collaboration.
That's the end of that podcast. Always true stories, legendary, had me crying of laughter. Max is just talk about potentially setting up for kidnapping. I don't know if that's hilarious or concerning, because since there obviously the good endings happen, you will get a laugh or a sigh of relief. Yeah, I just can't imagine just going to someone's car and then suddenly you're in a different state. Oh man. That's such a scary situation if you did not know that man well. Alright, I'm gonna try this to Yogscast now.
Hello, welcome to Freedom Force. Stop using Daff as an armrest.
Quite comfortable, just resting my arm. Wish I could do this with the cats. Mash their face into my thigh as I got my hand resting.
Yeah, it's quite soft.
It's quite relaxing.
You take him on a plane with you. You know, solve a lot of problems. Welcome back. What's in the news today? Have you got
Well,
anything good? Any topics? Any thoughts?
it
any
is
feelings? Any dreams?
no,
Yeah. Hollow and empty inside.
which is empty. No, there's animal news today.
Oh, good. Stafford Zoo. I've never heard of that. Didn't know that was a thing.
It's a zoo in Stafford.
I know it now. Hires Marvin Gaye. Didn't know he was still
No,
alive.
no,
Marvin Gaye.
no. An in-person.
Oh, Marvin, definitely not alive. Okay. An unknown zoo that I've never heard of is
Yeah.
hiring a dead man impersonator to
Why?
encourage endangered monkeys to let's get it on.
Let's get it on!
So there's some endangered monkeys.
Yeah.
They're not fighting each other, as with many animals.
The problem with endangered animals is they got to make more of the animals, and then the more endangered animals that there are within one species, then they become less endangered.
And we can start eating.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
Can't wait to start eating monkeys again.
God.
Oh, that'll be the day.
So let's get Marvin Gaye's singers in to, because that's what works for humans. You know?
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye has been making people procreate for
I'm making an OK sign with my left hand, and then I've got like my
this is
forefinger
for the podcast.
and my right hand out, and then I'm pushing the forefinger towards where the opening
It's
is.
a very
of the
lewd
OK
gesture.
sign.
That will get us banned on YouTube.
It's fine. They actually encourage that.
Do they? It's in the
Susan
terms and
loves it.
conditions.
Susan loves me.
She loves this.
Yeah. Don't say that she loves this and then do it. That's bad.
No, the sign. She
Oh
loves the
right,
sign.
okay.
Well, she might do as well.
Well,
we
she
don't
might
know.
do.
We don't know.
You know.
Oh, that was
It
good.
doesn't matter.
It was joy
Maybe she
there.
uses Marvin Gaye
The
because
banter
she
these
does
guys
what
have.
Paul does.
I mean, the idea behind this
It's
is
a terrible idea.
the male monkeys, they're well up for it. They are horny.
Already.
They're jacking it.
Right. They've got come to spare.
That's certainly one way of phrasing
They
it.
got-
Yeah, they got come to spare. But the females,
Picky.
they're showing like no interest.
Typical.
Isn't that always the way?
So, is this to attract... So, hang on.
Yeah.
Listen.
Mhm.
You have... So, why is this... Is the Marvin Gaye the idea that turns women on more than men?
I guess that's the idea.
Right. So is the idea that they're trying everything to get these female
I think they are trying.
Barbary macaques?
They're trying a number of things, and this is.
And then a
In your
random
experience,
lizard
what would you advise
somewhere.
them to do to get the lady in the mood?
Horror movie.
Horror movie.
Horror movie on.
Really give her a sense of
It gets the
existential
blood.
dread.
It gets the blood racing.
She's thinking, God, I only live
I
once.
gotta
I
do
could be-
panels on this
I
one.
could be murdered in my garage at any moment.
Yeah, YOLO. YOLO.
This guy will do.
Horror movie. Glass or 5 of wine.
Pinot Grigio.
Offer to give the monkey a back massage. You're looking awfully tense there.
Right, I see. And
Yeah.
then essential oils.
Yeah. Well, I usually just spit.
Yeah, well, that's quite a pheromonic process,
Mm.
maybe. Yeah,
Mm.
and then maybe I don't know, like just
my
do
God.
do the washing in the dishwasher. Get all the chores done. I find that works a treat.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're like, wow, you did all the chores.
The problem is you can't it's the idea to train the male
What?
monkeys to do chores.
No, I'm
But
just
maybe
saying.
train them to cook a nice meal.
I'm just saying that they need to, you know. I'm washing out.
Oh my god.
No, I don't think. I'm just. We have to be. I don't know. You know, we do share a lot of our DNA with monkeys, so maybe there is something in it. Do you know what I mean with the Marvin Gaye? It just
You may have shared your DNA with monkeys, but I certainly haven't.
seemed like a bit of a lazy process to get an impersonator in. It's like, Alexa, play sexy music. Like fucking. Sorry.
Oh no, what have you done, Lewis? What have you done?
You can have that. You can use that for later. Maybe they're just not given privacy. Do you know what I mean? That's the other thing. Everyone's like staring at them. Do you know what I mean? They're like, come on.
Boom.
Yeah. Just got to give them a bit of like, put a sheet over them. You know.
Right.
Or maybe they could do like a reality show.
Right.
Where they're in like
Love Island.
Yeah.
Love Island with monkeys.
Because they'll all fucking have a sex with each other like crazy if that was the case. They love doing it. In front.
Deirdre, you slag! I saw you sucking off Brendan! Oh my god.
There's a lot of solutions. I'm just saying that modern solutions are out there.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Precisely. You know?
It is a modern problem because of deforestation and the illegal pet trade.
That's right.
So we do need to boost their numbers.
Don't have monkeys as pets, dude.
Maybe we could, if they want privacy, why don't we just like have, you know, like a couple of monkeys, send them to like a nice Airbnb, maybe of a giant potato, and they can just stay there, and you know, for a couple of days, and you know,
Work it out.
yeah, no hidden cameras, nothing.
Gotta be
just-
careful though, because that potato, the moorings are quite loose and you might roll,
Oh, because of all the rocking. Yeah.
and then you get like
Yeah.
a Zorb style thing, that potato. It's quite flat. I
I wonder how long it takes.
It's a
them to
callback
Sort
to
of,
a previous podcast, don't worry. You can listen to it.
how long does it take them to?
Have sex.
Yeah.
I don't think animals spend a long time. They're in
Not
and out.
really.
They're
Yeah.
like, if I've watched any nature documentary, it's always like, and like that, the coupling is over.
The male has ejaculated.
If you didn't see it, here's it in slow motion.
Oh my
Blink
god.
and you miss it.
Yeah, I mean it's a survival thing. At this point, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
The video should be the other way around or whatever. I already done it.
Yeah.
Do the hokey pokey.
Out.
Turn
Wipe on the
around.
curtains.
That's what it's all
Call
about.
her Uber.
Roll over and fall asleep.
Next up, in animal news, Hank the Tank.
A 500-pound bear
He's a large boy. He's a bit of a chonker.
breaks
He
into
fit?
another
Exactly.
Lake Tahoe home. This has happened before.
Yeah.
He has lost all fear of people.
He fears no man. He is the bear that fears no fear. He's called Hank the Tank.
What does he fear?
He fears not having enough food,
Right.
which is why he's breaking into people's houses.
Dying alone. The things we all fear. Okay, good. It's fine. Carry on.
Maybe he does have some sort of, you know, he's not scared of people. He's not scared of guns or loud noises. Maybe he's scared of cats or something.
Yeah, you must have some weird fear. We just need to find out what it is. All of these, it's like a super villain or a superhero.
Oh.
They have a weakness.
Kryptonite.
Yeah. What is Hank the Tank's kryptonite? Is it like? No, it can't be bees. I was going to say bees. But
What
that's
if,
like.
what if it's something like yogurt? He breaks into someone's house. He's like, oh, fantastic. Opens the fridge. Fridge lights up. Yogurt on all the shelves. He's like, "Ah, fun!" He's gone.
He was hoping there'd be like a cold chicken in
Oh
there.
god, yeah.
Or like some ham.
Oh,
God, shank of big gammon. Like
loves cheese.
cheese.
Absolutely mad for cheese.
But
Can't get enough
yogurt.
of it. Oh,
Also fine with milk, weirdly. But it's that stage between yogurt, between milk and cheese.
yeah.
So he's breaking into homes, of course, and
Dozens of homes. Dozens of homes.
what's he doing in there?
Stealing food.
Right.
Because, you know, he's got to build up weight to survive hibernation, and
he sees people in homes as a source of food. Right.
yeah, because people's homes is full of food.
And people's is full of food.
They got Pringles, they got
Snickers bars.
yeah,
They got
Reese's peanut butter cups,
there's those pizzas,
Cheez-Its,
cheese strings,
beans.
dairy slices. They still have those in triangles.
Lamb Rogan Josh. With basmati rice. And a garlic naan bread.
Oh wow, what a lucky boy. See, you always order too much though. And that's why that was left over. You always order too much.
More than 150 people have made calls to the emergency services saying, there's a fucking bear. Help! Hank's here! They probably know him by now.
Yeah.
It's Hank! He's here!
He's eaten Grandma! He thought she was a delicious can of Pringles!
Oh god. Those linked bunnies they make.
Advent calendars.
Well, the problem with advent calendars is it's just that small window.
It's not.
Small window.
It's not filling him.
24 small.
Well, he's great at breaking into windows. Though.
Oh wait, that's
I mean,
not the
it's a
floor one.
small window when it's available.
No, that's the wall one.
Oh right.
Floor one.
Oh,
There we go.
see.
They are also small windows.
Cadbury's cream eggs.
Cobra's crab nuts. Ugh, nuts. We were joking about this before recording. Egg news.
I was like, what?
Ugh, nuts.
How have we got that much egg-related news happening?
Maybe next week I'll surprise you and it will be all egg news.
Egg news.
Ugh, nuts.
The top
Wait,
5
Is this not
eggs
supposed to have a door
being
like
revealed.
this?
Number 1. Oh,
No, start with number 5.
oh no!
Let's start with the top one.
We'd scroll down. Who scrolls? No one starts with
Number 5. Cobra Crab Up.
Yes, and we discussed it. The chicken would not be on the list
No.
because it's
Too common.
yeah,
Too normal.
it's too boring. You know, there's plenty of exciting hot new eggs coming out.
There's so many new eggs that they're coming out with.
Yeah, they're all
I'm
over the
excited.
place. Me too.
I'm excited.
That'll be next time. But
Yes.
yes,
For that drop.
an egg, delicious. I'm sure a bear would love an egg. Hank, Tank. So what are they going to do?
Well, they're deciding whether they should shoot him to death.
Oh, it's a very American solution, isn't it? Well, listen up, guys. We gotta make a decision here. We either can kill him, or we could just let him pillage our houses, and we can live in fear. There's our two options.
Basically, yeah. The real problem is that he gives no shits whatsoever.
Loads of bears would love to have a bear. Zoos would love to have a bear.
He's not scared of people. He's not scared of cars. He's not scared of
Let's put
loud
him
noises.
in bear prison, aka the zoo. There's loads of them. Stafford Zoo will have him. They've only got shit in there.
£500 bear.
What have they got in
In
Stafford
zoo.
Zoo?
It's a ticking
Shit all.
time bomb. It's just a matter of time till he eats a kid.
That'd be great. Like the on for Stafford Zoo. They'd be people would be coming from miles around to see the Hank the Tank that ate a kid.
Do they have bears in Stafford Zoo? I don't even know. I don't even know if it's Stafford in the UK last year.
Was that even this episode?
It
I've
was.
already forgotten.
We've moved on. We've moved on from that. Remember that was the monkey sex.
Monkey sex and Stafford.
And now we're on to Fat Bear.
You've got like a little short version of the, it's like the Daily Star headline version of each of them.
Oh my god.
So they haven't figured out what to do. Someone's going to take it into their own
He got him
hands.
through a fucking window.
I know.
A small window. And he's a big bear.
The homos had no idea how to get him out. The wife's like there with a broom. Come on, have you get? It's like a mouse.
No, they had, it says officers. Is that from the Department of Fish and Wildlife or was that the police? I'm not quite sure. But they opened the back door and they banged on the side of the house till he just left. Killing it is a move the Bear League calls cruel and unnecessary.
Bear League? That
The
sounds
Bear
like a
League.
superhero team.
What if they are all bears? It's a Bear League.
But different types. Like there's one. This guy's a member.
Oh, are you in the Bear League, sir?
I think killing bears is cruel and unnecessary.
Well, you would say that, wouldn't you? You're a bear. I think they're gonna have to every year sacrifice someone to Hank.
Right.
You're gonna tie them to a rock or a picnic table
I see.
by the woods.
Maybe someone who's, you know, annoying.
The most. They have a competition. Well, not competition. They have like a vote. Who's the most annoying resident?
Yeah, of wherever they
Wait,
are.
didn't I have a
Or it
pink
could be
can
like,
for
Like that
this
person, like,
one?
posts
Or was
on
that the same
local
one? I don't
Facebook
know.
group
I don't remember.
complaining about how noisy the children are. And
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
How much? Oh, I hate the sound of children having fun. That kind of person.
That fucking bitch, Edna.
Get rid of her.
I'm gonna get rid of her.
They have a vote.
Whoever wins loses. It's like Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, right?
Right.
Yeah. Which is a bit like
I can figure.
it's a bit like the what's it called? Hunger Games. It's like Hunger Games, right?
Only from annoying people.
Yeah.
So just like
Wow. Do you remember that fucking guy that just painted himself to look like a rock? And that was his strategy. I paint myself like a rock. Close my eyes.
A++ power.
Meanwhile, you know, the woman, you know, I'm really good with a fucking bow. This is amazing. I'm gonna murder everyone. And Peter's like, and then luck. Great, good work, mate. Good work. Good work there. Maybe you should learn some sort of skill with a weapon, something.
Just really like makeup, I guess. It's like one of those Instagram people who can like turn themselves into a fucking lizard, and their like neck is all painted, and they like have a like a dinosaur mouth and face. Like, it's mental. Have you seen this? Some of these people are brilliant.
Yeah, it's not that one specifically. With the like a woman who she tilts her head
People
back.
are turning
and
themselves
suddenly she looks like a
into
lizard.
like an elephant.
What?
Yeah, and you're like, what?
Oh, I
She
can
turns
see-
around and opens
I
her
can-
eyes, and you're like, what?
I can do that. I can make myself look like an elephant.
Can you?
I gotta empty my pockets, turn them inside out, and then I unzip the flies of my jeans.
It's a baby elephant.
Very cold out today, isn't it? You notice it's very cold
Yeah.
in
Well,
Bristol. Just sort of
we do insist on
Yeah.
wearing that skin tight lycra suit though, ever since you saw it on the.
I don't want my penis to fries off. No,
Is that not what you were going for?
fries.
Poison. Well, look,
Hank,
there is a solution, but fortunately we don't have to worry about it. And it probably involves Hank going up to Bear Heaven.
you say this is something that we shouldn't worry about. I honestly think it's just a matter of time until we have in Bristol a £500 seagull breaking into people's houses, stealing all their chips.
How about, like, you know how monkeys are going extinct because of the illegal pet trade?
Yeah.
When you make Hank a pet, can we like legalise having him as a pet? Because then some rich fucker will just buy him and put him in their fucking custom built evil villain basement there, and like feed him humans.
I think the problem is, much like shooting him, is that it would involve breaking
We
some
shift
sort
the
of
problem
law,
from
right?
this local town to the people living in that billionaire's dungeon.
I mean, we could put him in like a prison in a state that has the death penalty and feed him prisoners that are on death row. That would be a solution.
Right.
I mean, it's not an ethical one. It's not good.
We'd have to kill those prisoners in a way that made them appetizing for him to eat them.
No, he
Like a-
kills them
like
and
a-
eats them.
Oh, he kills them.
Yeah. There's a special yard where Hank lives, and then every month or so, we just drop a prisoner in there, He eats it. We televise it. Have big adverts like the Super Bowl.
There's a lot of solutions to this issue.
Hi, I'm Matt Damon.
Welcome to Friday Night Murder.
Everyone's talking about crypto, but the hot new crypto is Bearcoin.
We generate 1 bear coin every time Hank the Bear eats a death row prisoner.
Oh my god. I do feel like his days are numbered.
Yeah.
They're going to be authorized.
I feel like he's more likely to eat a kid being out free than being in Stafford Zoo. You know what I mean? Are you saying Stafford Zoo can hold this junk? Do you know what I mean? It would be too much
He's got a lot of junk in his
for them
trunk.
to handle.
Tank. I mean, I'm assuming that the people that live in the region of Lake Tahoe that has Hank around, you know, that they probably don't have the kids just playing outside. They probably, you know, like, why don't you go play Nintendo rather than play in the woods? Probably not a good idea just to have the kids just out there.
But he's just busting in when they're sleeping, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, he's lucky he's not already been shot because those Americans, as we know, very trigger happy with their own property. You know? I'm amazed he's lasted this long without being just gunned down.
I think it would take more than just like a bullet from like a handgun to take him down. I think a cannon might be required.
Like a broadside.
Maybe a landmine or something.
I see. Good point.
What would you do? Would you have him shot?
Well, look, he's obviously dangerous to humans, and he's endangered himself. So let's trank him, helicopter him into a little pen, not a little pen, decent pen, we can roam around, electrify it, of course,
God.
so we can't get out, Jurassic Park style, and we'll have one of those things
I don't know if Jurassic Park.
that lifts up those goats, right? So like it raises a goat up
Yeah.
into his enclosure,
Yeah.
and he gets like snatched.
Yeah.
And people come past in those bubbles and watch and look at it.
Yeah. Perfect. What could go wrong? Animal news.
We've done well putting these together. This is all relatively recent shit as well.
There's not a lot of details with this one.
That bear one was from this week, and this is from this week.
Yeah.
At time of recording, so
Hot news.
6 weeks ago.
6 weeks. So,
Oh, there's
in
something color.
Denmark, a kangaroo was spotted hopping around a field,
Yeah.
and now the police are on the lookout for it.
Right.
Now, the problem with this is that obviously kangaroos are not native to Denmark,
Is that true?
and there's no zoos missing a kangaroo. There's no like private owners of kangaroos that are known. So where the fuck did this kangaroo come from?
Austria. It came from a zoo or a billionaire's private basement where he's been making it illegally box prisoners or some shit.
So you think there's a billionaire that lives in Denmark?
There's loads of this stuff going on.
He has a secret zoo, right? There's illegally imported animals.
Sure.
And one of the kangaroos, how did it get loose though?
Well, it escaped. You know, you've seen
How?
those.
It pretended to be asleep when the guard came round to feed it.
Yeah.
Or it was hiding up on the ceiling,
It jumped up. Yeah.
like spread eagle.
Yeah. And then
And then it leapt down on the guard. They're
Made
great
up
at
for it.
boxing, aren't they?
Yeah, probably all that practice in the arena.
The arena?
Yeah, where he's been fighting all the other. That's why he had it in his illegal zoo. What? He doesn't just keep it for
What?
looking at. What's he doing with his illegal
Is
kangaroo pet?
Is this on the deep web?
No, it's just in my mind. I just feel like
Go to tor.animalarena.
there's a certain evilness to people like Bezos, right? Think about Bezos.
Careful.
I know.
Powerful man.
Powerful
He's a powerful man, Lewis.
Think
He's
about-
been to space.
Think about how
Technically,
think,
it's space.
think about how he looks. Think
Yeah.
about And he's one of the
Great style.
He's one of the good
The
ones.
shirts he wears.
Think about all the anonymous evil ones out there.
The ones we don't even know about.
Yeah, like let's just say Jeff's one of the good ones. How many bad ones are there out there we don't know about? Because we know about.
And these panels
Yeah,
are
He's hidden in plain
where it
sight.
wants me to paint the
Yeah,
walls
well,
and
I know about
such.
Elon, but his
Kind of
experiments
confusing.
on monkey brains
Exactly.
that led to the death of a bunch of them. Yeah.
Exactly. You know that's.
But I didn't want in the animal news because I thought that was horrible.
It's dark. No, it's nasty.
So-
But that's what I'm saying. These Playboy, they have their secret arena, and they make, you know, it's like fucking Squid Game. Do you know what I mean?
Really? I was thinking it's like Batman, but if Batman was like, instead of getting rid of criminals, I'm going to get animals. I'm going to be like an evil Noah. I'm going to have like kill every animal and make them fight to the death until there's one animal left, and then I will crown it king of the animals.
Wow. Superior animal.
Yeah.
When's man?
Oh my god. That's it. He fights the winner. He
Yeah.
strips off naked and like fist fights.
And then the door
every animal.
opens, and it's Hank the Tank, and he's like, "Oh fuck!"
Maybe I should have brought a gun or something. What am I going to do against this?
So like,
Just tickle him.
he's never had that before.
No.
That's all he wanted. There's another solution to Hank the Tank. Try tickling him.
Yeah.
Has anyone tried it?
Someone try it. Don't try it. You'll
Don't try it.
You'll be dead.
It's horribly savaged.
Like one small swipe
In your
that will
head.
take
Think about
0.3 seconds to occur. And
Yeah.
your face is now on the floor.
No, it's eaten. It's been swallowed like a KFC chicken skin, just straight into his bare belly.
Jesus Christ, that's horrible to me. Wow.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Great. Now I don't really know what I want to listen to. Probably just some twerp. What is this, a welcome mat instead? Big bird cage. Jeez, so much to do with this one. Right, doggy. Painting. Let's bring the paint bucket. Is it this color though? Nope, it's not. Alright. Will I get this going? I'm back falling asleep at your stream again. I mean, if you're sleepy, you might as well get some good sleep. I don't know if you need to do anything tomorrow, but it's always good to have a good sleep schedule. I know I don't do that. Oh, it's the same paint. What? Doesn't want me to paint the whole thing? But that's gonna bother me. Oh, this could be a kitchen. Well, I should do this thing first. Oh wait, hold up. Does the paint look weird, look off here? No, just the lighting, I guess. Oh no, it needs to be big enough for 6 people. God, this is so bad. I feel like it should have been the other way around, like, there. That looks like it makes more sense. Wait, I need to fit 4 of these? Alright, all done here. I think the only thing I really want to change is like the other room. Wait, let me sell all these. Like it's this place. It just feels like these things should be more covered up with the wallpaper, and like the corridor should be the paint. So I'm gonna do just that. I think this is fine. Oh wait, too much. See, now it looks more nicer. Alright, well, I think that's everything. We're out. Nice clean lawn. A journey full of fluffiness. Wait, did I complete everything then? Sounds like sounds like an achievement that I completed the whole expansion. Yeah, I think I did. I think I completed everything. Alright, I think that's a good point to stop it here. Give one more pet. Here you go. Alright, so I'm gonna call it here now, and tomorrow is Friday. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing on Friday. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I'll probably just do another one of those streams where I just play wherever I feel like playing. Alright, you guys have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.